Ladies and gentlemen, coming up next, we explore one of the biggest forces shaping the future of finance and business across Africa, AI and data. Because while AI may be the engine, it's data, access, and the right mindset that will decide who actually benefit from the opportunities ahead. Joining the conversation is Michael Somerton, Head of Platform and Propositions at Innate, bringing a practical financial services perspective on how AI can create real impact beyond the hype. Michael, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm just checking on the sound. How's the sound? Can you guys hear us? Okay, great. All right, welcome, and welcome to my fellow panelists. This session is the engine and the fuel, how AI and the data drives African futures. My name is Michael Somerton, and I look after the platform and proposition within the Innate business. We are an advisor-inspired wealth management platform where advisors can sign up to a new digital way of doing business for their clients. We've got 30 minutes. I'm going to keep it really short and crisp. And here's the promise. There's no hype. There's no buzzwords. We're going to stick to practical examples. We're going to talk about some leading trends. And it's going to stay educational and inspirational. So there's no trading advice in this session whatsoever. There's a lot of noise around AI at the moment. But we're going to talk about where AI is actually delivering value, what data foundations are required to make it work, and how do you scale these environments even when there's complexity, regulation, and complicated ways of doing business. But first, some introductions. Joining us today, we have two practitioners who are working at the intersection of technology, data, and real business outcomes. First, Mihai Georgian, Business Development Manager at Centroid Solutions. He works closely with clients to translate AI and data capabilities into practical, scalable solutions. Also joining us is Jermaine Johnson. Jermaine Johnson felt he'd wear some sunglasses today because the lights are really bright as his future, which is as the Head of Operations at Volt Markets. Welcome, Jermaine. So let's start with Mihai. Mihai, welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe just give us a sense for your business and how you guys serve your clients. And then what is the single most misunderstood thing about AI and data right now?
Thank you, Michael. Just as a quick introduction, yes, my name is Mihai. I'm with Centroid Solutions. We primarily provide solutions for brokerages, prop firms, and liquidity providers on the technology side of things in regards to liquidity bridge engines, risk management systems, CRM, trading platforms, and hosting, with AI being a powerful component powering those solutions as a whole. To answer your question, I would definitely say that one of the most overlooked misconceptions about applying AI in your business environment as a broker, or an LP, or a fintech is the data itself is almost just as important, if not more important, than the systems, the AI infrastructure itself. So when coming to apply AI in your business, it's important to take a dual-faceted approach where you have the infrastructure in regards to the actual LLMs and the AI and the machine learning models, but also the data that goes into those models. And you have to strike a good balance between both of those to accomplish what you're looking to accomplish.
Thank you, Mihai. So maybe I can call on Jermaine to tell us a little bit about Volt Markets, and then also from an operations perspective, what's one thing leaders get wrong when trying to implement AI in live environments?
Fantastic. Hi everyone, so I'm Jermaine Johnson, Volt Markets. We supply our clients with a platform to trade. We work with a lot of partners as well. So I sit in the middle of operations, dealing with different departments, making sure that they run smoothly. I'm also involved in planning, organizing, leadership, and also control of the business. So I started as a support agent in 2019. So I know what a happy client looks like. I know what a angry client looks at as well. And just to answer your question in terms of the data, I think it's very important that the data be cleaned and be accurate. The reason being is because that's the fuel for AI, right? So if you don't have the right fuel and you have a Ferrari, which is AI, you're not going anywhere. So, yeah.
Brilliant, thanks, Jermaine. So if we can turn to Africa for a second, they say Africa is not what it used to be. And the reason we say this is because Africa is changing. There's a massive trend of people from rural areas to come into cities, and at least for the last 10 years, all the growth has been what I call the basics. The basics is infrastructure, rail, telecommunications, education. And then with the advent of AI, there's some really exciting and interesting retail implementations. At the moment, if you go into Gemini, even the paid version, free version, you can go into guided learning, and almost anyone can learn math, science, physics, everything that can keep the world going. And so that's, I guess, in the retail environment, there's all these exciting implementations. But if we talk about some of your clients for a second, what are some of the top use cases where you're seeing like a really high ROI, like a really big return on investment for the business investing into an AI implementation?
So I would say the best ROI that I've seen, in my experience, is in the custom experience section, right? So recently, we were at capacity. Our staff was at capacity, and we were launching new products. And what we did was we created an AI agent that would call clients for us from our database, and you let them know about this product. And like a lot of people get it wrong in terms of, and I don't want to spread any bad news, but ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, that is not fully AI. That's only it's the edge of what it can actually do. And this AI agent can basically have conversations with people. These transcripts that's recorded can be compliant as well. And it makes it much more easier for the human agents. It gives them more context when they, follow up with those clients after the AI has done the rough work that takes a lot of time. And, we save so much time in that few weeks where our human agent could focus on more complex and things that matters to clients. So, yeah.
So just on that example, Jermaine, just talk us through, because humans are fallible, we make mistakes. In that scenario, how much more impressive was the compliance aspect of the AI implementation that you did? So did it help the agent, the human agent? Was there some checking in the background happening? Any sort of ROI on that?
No, 100%. Because you must remember when agents, human agents, they make phone calls, they get training on what to say, what not to say. And when using AI agents and its software, you can prompt it to sound exactly the same and also bring across the exact same pitch. So the risk in that is very minimal. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Perhaps, Mihai, could you think of an interesting problem and then like a really high ROI sort of success case that you may have encountered in your
100%.
Clients?
Thank you. Really good point, Jermaine, because what you bring up here is the application of AI on the customer-facing side, on a more of a support and success role or a sales role. Us as Centroid, we have had a lot of success in applying AI within our products themselves that are having to do with the user experience of the broker with our products. So what that looks like in a practical sense is, when it comes to infrastructure that we provide with liquidity bridge engines and risk management systems, they can be quite heavy. They can have, from somebody that is beginning to learn it from the ground up, it can be quite the learning curve. So we wanted to basically figure out a way to fill that gap and make it much easier for the person using the product by leveraging AI. So what we've done is we have trained our own models based off of our own product manuals. So we basically taught them how to use our products the best. And because of that, we gave the ability for the client to then make their process much more efficient in finding out how to configure the product in order for their specific requirement. And that also helps the load on our support side as well, right? So that is definitely a huge ROI uplift, because all of a sudden from an operator having to read the entire manual, and by the time that you learn the product like the back of your hand, it's going to take you a lot of times reading that manual. You go through it once thoroughly, but then when you have a specific case, you go to the AI and you speak to the AI about, well, how do I configure the product for my specific requirement? So that's one huge ROI uplift that we found when implementing AI in our systems.
Fantastic. And it sounds like in both examples, it was sort of your existing workforce working on more complex matters, while the AI tended to some sort of the more routine or complicated sort of structured items, yes?
And that's how AI operations look. It's not here to replace the human, but to work besides the human to make things much easier. So, yeah.
100%.
Okay, Jermaine, something interesting, like where does things break when it comes to AI? So if I could give you an example, like perhaps a customer being profiled incorrectly, or unnecessarily asked for due diligence, or where do things kind of go wrong in these implementations?
So the nice thing about AI is that you can actually QA or do some quality assurance versus AI. So if you're an AI agent and I'm an AI agent, we can speak to one another. So before that, the AI agent goes live, we'll have a tester. So this AI tester will call that original AI agent and actually test it to see if it actually, moves away from the conversation, those type of things. Can you just repeat your question? Sorry, I just want to...
Oh, so where does things break?
Okay, so where things break. Okay, fantastic. Where things break is you have the human side of things and you have the AI side, right? Where things break is when the one is contributing 50% and the other is contributing 40%. So you have the AI agent doing all the work, all the hard work in terms of contacting clients in a short period of time. And if you don't have the human side in terms of following up and doing the due diligence, that is where it breaks at the end of the day, because it needs to be a real pain that you're working on as well. And if it breaks, that means it wasn't really it wasn't a major pain in your business. So, yeah.
So they say that AI or any kind of technology is the engine. So what is the fuel? And we were talking about it earlier as we walked in. The fuel is the data. And so one example I have with one of our clients in Africa, they are a platform business where they went and they did some research, and the average number of cows, like dairy cows that Nigerians have, Nigerian rural farmers, is 3. 3 cows per farmer, and that produces all the milk in the whole of Nigeria. So three cows on average. And what these guys noticed was when these farmers were bringing the milk to market, it was 10 liters from this farmer and 5 liters from this guy, and all the data was on pieces of paper. And so they re-engineered the whole process. They were collecting the numbers of liters of milk produced per cow, and they engineered this whole value chain that they could go to market. They could predict within each region how much milk was coming from those cows, and they were able to on-sell that data, to the capital markets. They could predict how much feed and water and nutrients the cows needed, and they were only able to do that because they had the data from the actual farmers. These farmers in turn could use that success, and they were able to apply for loans and buy more cows. And so now on average in Nigeria, farmers have 3 to 4 times more cows on their land. So it's a fantastic success story. But getting to the data, I know you're really passionate about data, Jermaine. Mihai. So tell us about that.
Sure. So in our space, just as a brokerage operation, you are extremely data rich. But we all know the saying, knowledge is power, right? But it's actually applied knowledge is power, because if you don't apply that knowledge or that data in the right ways, it means nothing. And a lot of the shortcomings that we see of the brokers, they don't utilize the data that they have in the ways that their brokerage deserves, meaning they're leaving a lot of revenue, a lot of missed opportunities, a lot of opportunity cost on the table. So one major way that we see the brokers not optimizing the use of their data is, first and foremost, the fact that the departments, the silos, the verticals of the brokerage, they're fragmented. So you have your trading platform, you have your CRM, you have your risk engine, you have your liquidity bridge. These are all core technologies that the broker needs to run. Where the industry is now, these verticals don't communicate together. So you can go in and export a really dang good report from, let's say, the CRM or the bridge, but that report won't be able to read the data from the other verticals as well. So what we found is that when you apply an AI layer that actually extrapolates the data across your entire ecosystem, you unlock hidden trends and patterns in your data that was previously not observable. And this is very, very powerful, because this actually allows the broker to lower their CAC, to optimize their LTV, and do things that they weren't able to do before. And that's just about like the operations side. If you get me started on the risk and dealing and other ways where AI can be applied to, and the right data can be applied to maximize the revenue, we could be here for 3 hours. But
you're on a roll. Keep going with the risk. That's interesting.
Sure.
So some of the controls and governance. Let's talk about that.
So in terms of what we've seen be really successful for brokers that are applying AI at the forefront of their risk management strategy and their dealing, it really comes down to being able to leverage the data they have, making sure it's not noisy data, so removing outliers. That is, if their goal is not to identify outliers, and making sure that the data is relevant. Now, once they've done that, they can successfully use AI to categorize and classify different types of traders, different types of trading activities, different types of high-risk points in trading times in the day. So, for example, let's say when they're using this data effectively, what they can do is say, okay, well, this group of traders receives this different data feed at this different point in time of the day because they're known to be trading like this, and that means that I need to optimize my execution because of that. And when you train the AI to do exactly that, then you leave no money on the table because those switches happen automatically. And we know that we live in a very volatile world with the market continuously changing, and you will get blindsided over and over and over again. And we talk to brokers many times, and they're like, I don't know what happened. And it's because they don't have the data being used in the right ways to at least give them a little bit of an attempted advantage to try to predict to happen. Because there's no 100% in the accuracy, but you can definitely try to get near it, right? So that's one way that we see the data being applied. Using AI in the risk and dealing is through the classification and the prediction of how to route the flow in an optimized manner.
Okay. I think that's a fantastic comment. Thank you, Mihai.
Sure.
Jermaine, anything resonating with what Mihai was talking about around data and so the use thereof, the governance, etc.?
100%. I fully agree with Mihai in terms of the data, the amounts of data we have in the brokerage industry. It's an enormous amount of data, but the enrichment is very important. It's no use having so much data, having so much fuel, but not having the correct fuel to put into the Ferrari, like I've mentioned before, that analogy. And back in the day, I worked in the call center as well, where we had to enrich that data on live calls to make sure that it's a correct email, to make sure that the company size is still correct, to make sure that the company is still located here. Who's the decision maker? And it's got to do with what you put into the AI system, and that's how you're going to get the best outcomes at the end of the day. So data is very important. We have to always try to enrich it, and there's money on the table, like you've mentioned. If you don't have the clients correct information? How are you going to get hold of them? How are you going to close deals? How are you going to contact clients if the number's not right? And with AI systems nowadays, that information can be updated via AI as well nowadays through some platforms as well. So, yeah, I fully agree with him. I think that we're not leveraging enough in terms of data because we are not going anywhere if we don't fix that first. So.
Brilliant, thanks guys. So we're approaching the end of our session and we need to start wrapping up. Unfortunately, I could sit here all day and talk to you guys about AI and data, but perhaps if you could just leave our audience with one takeaway thought, what's exciting you about the future around data and AI in Africa and more specifically in your market, and then perhaps one bold prediction for the future.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. With the rise of AI, and AI has been around for a long time, but it became mainstream like 2021. It's beautiful to see the democratization of skills, meaning that now virtually anybody can build for themselves a skill set that is extremely valuable. And living in the world we live in today with so many companies knowing that they need to have AI adopted, but maybe they don't know where to start, that individual with that skill set has a lot of leverage in in their hands to be able to approach that company and help them out. So what I would try to leave with the crowd today is that as an operator, as a broker, as a company operating in today's day and age, if implementing AI in your systems is something that you want to do, don't hesitate to hire the talent that already knows how to do what you're trying to accomplish. Because most of the time, figuring it out yourself from the beginning is going to cost you way more in opportunity cost than if you were to just hire a single professional to come in, do an audit of your departments, and then help train your people on how to update and further the R&D in AI. So it does take one professional to train the rest, and I believe that it would be way more beneficial to outsource that, bring that person in to train everybody, instead of trying to pick it up from the ground yourself and then lose all that time.
100%, thanks. Thanks, Mihai. Jermaine, closing remarks.
Fantastic. I fully agree with you, Mihai. It's, what I want to leave the crowd with today is obviously, like Mihai's mentioned, you need to educate yourself, you need to upskill yourself because, I get very jealous of the guys that know how to use Excel and they're talking about pivot and all of these things. But times have changed, We have systems that can generate data sets in minutes, Data can be analyzed and all of those type of things. I mean, in North Korea right now, it's the most automated country at the moment. And they're doing so well that out of every, 10 employees, there's one robot. There's one AI person working or one robot working. And we should strive to get to that level because, like I've mentioned in the beginning, AI is not here to replace anyone. You need to learn to work alongside it because it can help you operational-wise. It helps me. 8 o'clock every Tuesday morning, my report is ready based off clean data that I put into a system every week on my projects, on my team. Not hours spent, right? And now I can focus on more things in the business. So it's very important to upskill yourself in terms of AI. And there's a lot of opportunities. Everything, it's free. There's a lot of free things you can start off with. And you can just start off. It's just the point of starting in that section. So, yeah.
Thank you, Jermaine. That brings us to the end of our time today. We do have time for Q&A if you'd like to find a microphone and try shout over the noise to get some questions to our panel. We are the last session of the day, so we do have 5 minutes for questions. And while you think about your question, I'll give you some closing remarks. So I'm an Afro-optimist. I think that there is an incredible amount of opportunity, not just within South Africa, but within the continent. And some of the things that AI does brilliantly translate language, summarize documents. I think it's going to open opportunities for customer segments that you would never have thought of before. In Africa, 10 years ago, it's very much divided along language barriers. Not just African languages, there's Portuguese-speaking countries, French-speaking countries, English-speaking, and then obviously the African languages. And I think AI is going to break down those barriers. So you're going to have all these opportunities for new clients who you would never have spoken to before, which I think for me is like my big bet for Africa in the 22nd century, is that you're going to have a whole lot of new clients. I think I'd like to thank my panelists. Thank you, Mihai and Jermaine, so much for your time and for your comments. And let's give our panelists a round of applause, guys. Thank you so much.
Give it up for our host as well, Michael.
Any questions? One question. There we go.
Thank you. Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Just a question for Mihai in terms of AI. Obviously, there's models like Cowork, Claude Cowork, OpenClaw, those type of things that can where humans can give access to the computers and things like that. My question is obviously specifically when it comes to broker operations, right? You've got compliance, you've got risk, you've got KYC, you've got payments. How far do you think AI is in terms of automating, key operational components in a broker, such as KYC, such as payments, or even withdrawals? Maybe Jermaine can touch on that, because those are things that are very sensitive in terms of if it has mistakes or if AI workflows break. Like, for example, in withdrawal operations, if AI breaks. So my question is also twofold, is that how far is AI in terms of that, or of those type of operational components? Can it fully automate, 80% automate? And also, how does the business start to implement that? And how does the business look at all of these operational components in terms of value, and where do they start? What's the easiest way for them to start in implementing AI in those operational components?
Really, really good question. And I'm looking forward to hear your answer in this regard as well. Where, like, these types of operations, because they are higher stakes than a simple chatbot on a website, or AI chat interface, like I explained earlier, that runs on our product manuals. These stakes that you explained, they have to do with withdrawals, with deposits, onboarding, offboarding, with KYC. So I believe that in order to achieve a very high level of operation using AI in those domains, you need to have that level of human interaction still remaining there as the final line of defense. Meaning, you can automate as much as the heavy lifting as possible using AI. If it's with KYC, maybe you can automate pre-checks and batches using AI, and that AI is trained based off of what it should expect to see. But finally, maybe once on the hour or once or a couple times a day, that human element comes in and gives the final checks. And it's still a much more efficient process because the human doesn't have to go in to do all the nitty-gritty line by line, address by address check. But they still go in and have that line of defense, the final eyes that are taking a look. So I think in regards to the high stakes elements of brokerage operations, at least now, AI assists the person doing it and doesn't completely replace them. I think how it's implemented is slowly. Making sure that you look at the lowest hanging fruit first, what causes the most bottlenecks, what causes the most things to break, and how you maintain it is, like I mentioned earlier, having that AI generalist or that AI professional that is there, that trained the department to implement these things in the first place or to operate these things in the first place. There needs to be that constant overwatch in the operations in that regard. So I hope that answered your question. Jermaine, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I think it's very important that there needs to be rules and policies set in place in terms of, reaching that level of technology. And I agree with you. There should always be a human component to make the decisions, because this thing is very powerful, right? And we're dealing with a lot of client data, That's very sensitive. So we need to make sure that there is that line of defense when it comes to and the data. And speaking on the topic of the data, it needs to be enriched. It needs to always be worked on. There always needs to be monitoring involved until we get to a level. And we are heading that way in the next 2 to 3 years, I believe. We are heading that way. So, yeah.
Just to further add on Jermaine's answer there, in regards to payments, because I talked about KYC, it's also really strong in the same aspect where the AI can be used to pick and choose the best waterfall. Because right now, if you look at the payment systems that have the highest success rate, it's usually an orchestration system. Because that orchestration system usually works on a waterfall basis where, you know, it has its top 10 favorite PSPs. And using AI, based off of predictions and success and data and statistics and analyses, the broker can train the payment orchestrator, or the payment orchestrator does it themselves, to actually pick and choose the best PSPs based off of where the client is depositing from, or where they are withdrawing from, or what methods they are using to deposit or withdraw. So you can actually increase your onboarding ratios and your successful withdrawals as well, you know, lowering the failures using AI, but of course still with an overwatch method where the human still has an element. They go in, they check it out, and make sure that everything is working and actually increasing and improve in performance.
100%. Just to touch on that as well, I also believe that you shouldn't change your workflow because of AI. Because we've been working a certain way for years now. It's only finding the gap within that workflow to see what you know, manual things we can change, what we can automate. So it doesn't mean we need to change, you know, everything about it. I think we should focus on the pain points within the workflow and then integrate AI in between. And obviously have the human effect as well in terms of making some big decisions. So, yeah.
Fantastic question. Thank you so much for that. I think we can wrap up there. Thank you so much. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.